What's up? What's up? This is Cat Talk on IntellectualRadio.com. I am your host, Cat, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Miss Wanda B.
Hello, Cat.
Hello, hello. Okay, so here on Cat Talk on IntellectualRadio.com, we discuss letters that I get, conversations, discussions. We talk about all types of things from gossip to important stuff. And today I have a letter from one of my young people. I frequently have conversations and discussions, and I work with a lot of teenagers and middle schoolers. So today I have a letter from one of my young girls, and we're going to get right into it. The letter says, Dear Cat, my friend talks to her mother really bad. I have told her she is wrong for being disrespectful to her mother. My mother was killed in a car accident 2 years ago, and I told my friend that I wish I had a mother. She told me that I had a good mother, and her mother wasn't that great. She said her mother always had a lot of boyfriends. She clubs a lot. She doesn't even come to her report card pickup and stuff like that a mother should do. She also said for a while, a guy that her mom said was her dad used to come around, and then he made her mom do a DNA test for her, and he stopped coming around. She says she disrespects her mother because she doesn't have any respect for her mother. Her grandmother raised her until 5 years ago when her grandmother died. Now she has to live with her mom and she doesn't want to. I feel bad for her because I had a great mother. So I don't understand, why is her mother like that? And because she feels like that about her mom, does she have the right to talk to her and treat her any kind of way? I think that this conversation is really, really good to have. It's important to me because I am a child of a deceased mother. So I like to call it the Past Mothers Club. So my mother is passed and I'm a part of that club. And I think that in this situation, the writer, she is expressing her feelings just based off of that. A lot of it is by her going up against her friend for being disrespectful to her mom. A lot of that comes from the fact that she's lost her mom. Sorry for your loss, sweetheart. My heart goes out to her. I always try to, console and mentor, especially teenagers when they lose their mom. I lost my mom when I was 20. So when you're young, it matters. But I think at any age, when you lose your mom, I don't care if you're 85, 60, 70, it's a big, big deal. That being said, I think that for the writer, she may be she may be having a little bit of a harsh thought process when it comes to her friend and her interaction with her mom because she doesn't understand.
I agree.
Because she's speaking from her own grief.
I agree. And at first, I felt that way and felt very harshly about it. And then I remembered that we're talking about a child and that a child maybe not being able to process that this is not about her. If you tell the whole story about your friend, then what happened with you and your mother, it's very sad, I must say. And I shouldn't say sad. I mean, it happened, and I can't even begin to understand because I've never gone through anything like that on that side. Losing the parent that way, I have on the other side of not having the mother the same way other people have their mothers. And so I get that a lot, and I truly understand where people come to you and say, you shouldn't do that with your mother because your mother, and then you go, why are you comparing your relationship with your mother with mine? Because our experiences are so different that they can't be compared.
It's very, very different. And I have to catch myself sometimes from doing that, from saying, well, you shouldn't do this or that with your mother because I don't know. I don't know what your mother did to you to, make you upset. So that's a big, big deal. When you're speaking from your own experiences, you have to kind of catch yourself and remember that. If you're just tuning in, this is Cat Talk on IntellectualRadio.com, and we're talking about moms. The topic of the show today is where the real mother's at. Because I think when you look at a mom, you look at the fact that you kind of think that moms are like superhuman beings. And realistically, mothers are real people. They're human beings. And so for my writer that is writing about her friend being disrespectful to her mother, she's kind of bothered by that. Like, hey, you talking like this or that, or what she says, treating her mother any kind of way. And it bothers her because she's lost her mom. But I think the first thing you got to look at is her friend's perspective.
Right.
So we have to look at the fact that we're talking about a kid judging the value of a mom. So can we
Right.
really take the thought process of a kid and say, well, this mother is not a good mother? So I've had this discussion with a couple other people, and they immediately went to, well, her mother's out in the streets and doing this and that. And her mother, she should do this and that for her. And she left her with her grandma and all of these negative things. But at the same time, when you're looking at the viewpoint of a kid, can you really, really judge what kind of mom this is based off of the words of a kid?
I don't think so. I mean, yes, a child has an opinion, a child has an experience, and they have the right to have a feeling of that experience, but they also have limited experience. So we're talking about a child that only knows,
Right.
sometimes fictionally, what you think mothers
Mhm.
are supposed to be like at home cooking and doing this, and not
Your Claire Huxtables.
the Claire Huxtables and whatever other mother. Do we have any other black mothers
We
on
have
TV?
the mother
Role
on the
models?
mother on Blackish, and I think
Oh
she's a
yes, Black.
doctor.
She's a doctor, and she's
Yeah,
a loving her, and she's cooking every night and being a doctor. I
and
rarely
being
see her
funny,
and funny
witty.
and fun and
Yeah.
caring about your feelings while she's pressured with work at the same time.
Mhm.
Bring you to work with her. I mean, honestly, is that really what realistic? I will even say, as an adult, I appreciate my mother more now than I did then. I don't even think as an adult sometimes, until you've had children and had those experiences, do you see how much your mother had to go through,
Yeah.
maybe.
I think that most women can say that they had like their moms. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, you're at war with your mom.
Oh yes.
And then once you become a mother, then you're like,
You
oh,
understand the war.
I get it now. And if you have a daughter, then karma plays its part,
Oh yeah.
and then it comes back to you, and then they hate you. And I went through that, and I didn't understand anything that my mother did or said to me until I actually became a mother. All the way up until like the woman part of her. Like I got to understand, oh, this is why she said you can't spend the night at so and so's house. So I don't like that girl. Don't hang out with her and put some clothes on. I get that. But I also got the woman part of her. I
Right.
got the part of her that I saw her interacting in relationships with men. I saw her when she was down and up and down. A lot of times mothers don't realize when you date your children, especially if you're a single mother, even if you're in a marriage, your children go through that relationship with you. They see how you interact with their dad or your husband or your boyfriend or your boyfriends. And so this girl in the letter mentions, my mom has had a lot of boyfriends. And so I think sometimes that children, especially girls, they can be very judgmental. But I'm sure this girl has a place to live. She has clothes on her back. When she needs something, mom probably makes sure she has it. I mean, so her judgment of her mother, of what a good mom is, your mother is good. Well, my mother is not good. I think it's kind of, you got to take a deeper look to kind of validate the judgment of
Is her
a
mother
child.
actually as bad to her as this girl feels she is?
Right, as she says, a kid will tell you, and I'm working with kids for years, that just because they didn't get the right gym shoes, that they have a horrible, terrible parent.
They consider discipline not loving them.
Yes, you hate me. No, I really just want you to be safe. So, I mean, you have to look at that too. That's like a big deal when you're looking at the thought process of a kid. This is Cat Talk Show, IntellectualRadio.com, and we're talking about, the topic of the show today is where the real mothers at. And so we have a letter written from a young lady, and she's kind of bothered because her friend is disrespectful to her mother. She has some feelings about that because her own mother is deceased. And she's like, ease up on your mom. That's your mother. I wish I had my mom here to, do whatever for me. And so the girl has basically said, my grandma raised me. I don't have no respect for her. So I think in this situation, we also have to look at the fact of why did grandma raise you? So usually when grandma takes you or grandpa or auntie, it's something going on with mom. Now, mom might be a party girl. She says mom clubs it and goes out. Mom might be an overly party girl, and grandparents have to step in and take over the kids. Or mom was young and she didn't know what to do. Unfortunately, when that happens and kids do have their grandparent, aunt, uncle, whomever raising them, and parents are present, but they don't participate, they'll have a negative thought process about their parent.
I think, does that, for the child, and I don't think you're going to see this as a child, that the parent allowing the grandparent to actually help raise you is a loving act.
It is. And I think that's why I say you got to go back to the thought process of a kid, because it's something you don't necessarily get. It's like a person that's adopted coming to terms with, you did this out of love versus you threw me away.
Exactly.
So maybe if this young lady could kind of get it in her mind that her mom allowed her grandma to take over because she just couldn't. But I think she has in her mind that mom was partying and kicking it, and that's why grandma took care of her.
Which
so grandma did everything.
True.
It all could be true. Grandma did everything for me and you did nothing. And that absolutely could be true. But a lot of times when, you have your kids that are raised by grandma, and I'm going to tell you something really funny. We're working with kids. I've worked with kids and we call them grandma's kids. You can tell them they're different. The fact that this little girl expressed how she feels in that way about her mom. Well, I don't respect my mother. I disrespect her because I don't respect her. Some of the language and thought process is different from a kid that is raised by just their parents and a grandma's kid. You ever see a young kid that got old mentality?
Yeah.
They always want to sit with the adults. They always want to, extra talk. They bring up the news, stuff like that. Those are your grandma's kids. Just side note. But it is. My daughter was close with my grandmother, and my baby grew up watching Lifetime.
My golden girl.
Yeah, see, stuff like that. So, you get your grandma's kids. But I think that that's important to look at why grandma had to take over and raise her. And now she's with this mom that she's built up in her mind that, you never did nothing for me anyway. So I don't have to listen to you. So then look at another dynamic. Then the child and mom essentially raised up like sisters.
Right.
So she may not be really being disrespectful in her mind. She's being more like talking to her like a sister.
Treating her with the respect you would a sibling,
versus a parent.
A parent. We have some people who have commented, which please add your comments to Dear Cat. I'm going to try to get to them all if I can. Derek Wilson said that he was in a familiar situation with one time earlier in his life with mental, emotional dysfunction with his mother, which oftentimes the person produces the template of how one defines or relates to a figure in their life. As a mentor, I've dealt with horrid abuse cases upon a child. So he says, yes, we only get on mother. It's beyond the title. It's the quality of her parental skills, where exceptions to the title are made with the exclusion of a child having issues as well, in my opinion. So is he saying that just because the mother has the title of mother, if she isn't really executing what we consider to be the parental duties of a mother, does she really get the respect of a mother?
And that goes back to maybe they were raised together. A lot of times when women have children really young, they're literally growing up together. You can't teach somebody something you don't know. So if I'm 14, 15 years old, what can I teach a child 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 about something that I don't really know about? I don't know about being a woman. So I can't really teach you that. I can't, give you any good examples. So we're essentially growing up together. So it would make sense that just because she's mother entitled biologically, her mom is deceased to her. Grandma died 5 years ago, she said. So mom is dead, and now I'm being raised by my big sister. And so she's mom entitled, but in real life, she's sister. And so she's probably just treating her like that.
But at the same time, I don't know, it's the how to treat someone with respect.
Yeah, because she still should respect her.
She still should respect her, and maybe she wasn't raised. Doesn't sound like she was raised as mother, because the level of disrespect and all the things she can label.
Mm-hmm.
But is she also talking about the mother, like you mentioned, grandmother's kids through the grandmother's eyes? Like hearing maybe some of the things her grandmother has said about your mother stays in the streets, your mother this, your mother this.
Makes
that
if
she got to just be a child and not even kind of worry about, because I don't really pay attention to my sisters and siblings' lives like that.
Right.
So maybe something too is coming from the grandmother's feelings about the mother.
Goes back to her being a grandma's kid.
Right.
And if grandma was like that, absolutely she's gonna feel that way and treat her mother like that. And I guess her friend that's writing a letter outside looking in is like, oh my goodness, how could you talk to your mother that way? And the dynamic in that family is just different. is just all
It's not to be compared.
It's not to be compared. Absolutely not to be compared. This is Cat Talk, IntellectualRadio.com, and we're talking about where the real mother's at. We have a story, a letter from one of my young people about her friend that is disrespectful to her mother. The friend told her, "You had a great mom." The writer's mom is deceased. She told her, "You have had a great mom. My mom is not so great." So I think we need to look at when you think about the goodness of a mom or your mom in particular. Like, I can clearly go back and remember all the things that were like, "Oh, my mother was a bomb." But as an adult, I can also go back and look at some of the things that's like, she could have did a little bit differently this way or that way. But I think in this situation, looking at what the little girl's saying, you got to kind of identify what is a good mom. What are the qualities of a mother that makes her good? A lot of times we identify it with sacrifice. So my mother sacrificed these million trillion things to give me what I want, or my mother did all this stuff for me. Kids nowadays like, well, my mother keeps me in Jordans. She's the mom. My mother, takes up for me when I'm wrong. She provides. And my mother works 5 jobs for us to give us all the PlayStation 3s, 4s, and 5s we want. So, I mean, you have to look at it as what does kind of make a mom a good mom. What's a good mom?
Oh, that is a very good question. I don't think that has one single answer to it. Everybody's experience is going to be different. Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm going to send some shout outs to James Smith, Daryl Wallace. Hi. We all say hello, hello.
Thank you for checking in on Facebook. We appreciate you. Keep it coming.
Alan Jackson said, and I think this is an interesting perspective. Well, I believe it's because she wants a relationship with her mother, but the only thing her mother understands is disrespect. Coming from her mother's way of dealing with men is all disrespectful. So all her daughter knows is disrespect because that's all she's seen from her own mother.
And that very well really, could be true. And that does make a great point, because the writer doesn't say that mom says anything or goes back and forth with her. And mom probably doesn't. And that's just the way that they relate to each other. I've seen mother-daughter hang out, club it. I've seen mothers that push their children, their girls to, go strip. I mean, okay. Look at the Kardashians' mom. I mean,
that's true.
They put their kids, so they have, different love relationships with their mothers. And so whereas this girl who's lost her mom, she has a, different kind of love relationship with her mother. This is the way that they communicate and interact with one another. And mom not being around her to be a mom, and we don't know what kind of relationship she had with her mother. That may be the way they communicate with each other. It might be the norm.
It might be. James Smith says mothering doesn't necessarily equal parenting. And they think that's what we're saying, is that, what is the description of a mother, mm-hmm. which is going to vary for everyone. And I think what you said is so profound that I think most mothers contribute sacrifice in our generation.
Right.
Sacrifice as being our way of being a good mother. I gave him my last. I mean, we really pat ourselves on the back for sacrificing the most.
And the funny thing about that is then you get a one mother or the other. You get a mother that I did everything for you, put into you. I want you to be great and better than me. And then you get a mother that says, I did everything for you. What can you do now for me?
Right. So a lot of mothers, owe me. You owe me because I sacrificed so much. I'm waiting for my payback.
A guilt trip mom. And, and of course, if you have to give when you get older, absolutely take care of your mother. I want my kids to hear this. Take care
of your mother too.
Take care of your mother. But it's not a guilt thing.
No, it's not.
It's not a guilt thing, but that happens. So in looking at what makes a good mother, there are a lot of things that mothers do that stand out more than when they're a great and good mom. A lot of times we don't recognize moms really until they pass away, or unless they do something overly major, like the major sacrifice. So I was just sitting back and I was thinking about the things that we look at on negative moms, mothers with multiple fathers of their children, mothers that have made bad choices in men, and then children go through those relationships, those multiple relationships with them, mothers that finance their kids but don't spend time with them. So like this particular woman, she probably left the baby with the mother, with her grandma, and she might have financed her, but she didn't build that relationship, that mother relationship. And then mothers that use their kids for financial gain, and they don't think about how they're affecting their kids. Mothers that are self-centered, they look great. Their kids look a mess. And everything that happens with their kids is directly about them. And then mothers that are still living a life, living a vida loca, and you don't even know they have kids. They're out so much.
Like, you have children?
Like, yeah, you have children. And, every once in a while they post on Facebook, hey, my kid graduated. And you like, graduated from high school? When you get a baby? And you have no idea. And there are mothers like that. And so those things right there, those are the things that kids, I think especially this generation, they see. See, I think in our generation, and I'm not that old.
And I'm not either.
But in a different generation, it was like those things, even if you did see them or recognize them, it was like, oh, it was hush hush. And it wasn't brought up, and you still respected your mother. I don't care if every one of your brothers and sisters, all different shades and colors. I don't care if you had a Chinese brother and a Mexican brother. You are all brothers and sisters, and it was no mention of what daddies did or didn't do. Didn't matter. Now, kids will literally look at their mothers. I have heard a young man call his mother a thought. My mother is a thought. And for those that don't know, that is a very derogatory term that the children use nowadays. But he called his mother a thought because she does. She had 3 babies' fathers. And a kid had made that, judgment. And I think in our day, we didn't make judgments like that.
I don't think we were raised to even consider our siblings not to be of the same. I'm your mother. I'm the mother to all of you. You don't pick your daddy is different. I don't even know if you really put a lot of focus on that in families. Mr. Bowden says, and forgive me, I'm not pronouncing your first name. The mom could be a kid herself. Young moms are different than older moms.
They are.
And that I think actually could be a big part of this and could be part of the case too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I said, they're raised together. And so the way that she's speaking to her may not be disrespectful to her. It might be, I've seen kids who call their parents by their first name. And it's funny because my daughter did that to me last week. Like she was getting a little upset with what I was saying. And she said, Catherine, because she wanted me to stop talking.
Right.
And she did. She got my attention. She did. I said, who's
she didn't get a slap this year. Little face not red, is it?
She was in Alabama and I was here. So she was like, we was on the phone. And I said, who are you talking to? And, and it was like,
then she got quiet.
She got quiet. She was trying to get me to stop. Right. She didn't want to, like, girl, shut up. She wanted to grab my attention.
I think that's okay.
And it was. And afterwards I got off the phone and I laughed about it, like, this little girl. But she, but on a norm, that's not okay. In my household, I wear the title of mother. I do the things. That's me. You don't call me by my first name. But I've seen younger generation kids who do. They call their parents by their first name, call their grandparents, or they call somebody, or they don't call anybody mother or father. They just don't have that, regard for anybody.
This generation is definitely different, and calling your mother by your name just because that's shock value.
Yeah,
it's different when it's shock value and it's the norm. And hey, but I think what I really like about this child, the one with the mother like that, is that she does say to her friend, we don't have your experience is not mine. And I think that's in a very a good way that she sees the difference versus getting mad and saying and going off on her friend, that she realizes that this isn't the same.
Yeah. So I'm going to assume that the friend has been around her mother. And then she's able to see, a lot of kids nowadays aren't able to see the difference in a mom that does XYZ. Because I think you really can't put in a box what a good mom is. You can't say, oh, you meet these criteria, even though I feel like some people need license. They need to take a test, physical and mental, to be able to have children, and they need to get a certified card, and then should
certified to raise a
child to have a child, and they need it renewed every year. They have to retake their test, because some people are, just because you biologically can have a child doesn't mean that you can be somebody's mother.
Maybe they need continuing education.
They need, and yes, required, yes, absolutely. Because just because I can, physically pop one out doesn't mean that I can raise one. And I think if you look at it on a bigger picture scale, that is part of the issue of what we have going on in our society right now.
It is. It's one of the biggest issues.
Yeah, it really is. Cat Talk, IntellectualRadio.com, and we're talking about where the real mother's at. And so I wanted to make sure I reiterated what the title of the show was, Where the Real Mother's At, because I think right now with a lot of things going on with our young people, mothers are the core of your personality, where you learn your stuff from first. I mean, yes, dads are important. We're not talking about them right now. I'm talking about your mother. Like, that is really, 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 really important. I remember a day when my daughter, she had to be about 3 or 4. She was laying on my lap and I was tickling her, and she said, "Mom, what are these?" And in my mind, because I was a young mother, I had her when I was 19. I said, "What is wrong with you, girl? You don't know what eyebrows are?" And I had to think like, no, you don't know what eyebrows are. So I told her, these are eyebrows, these are eyelashes. They protect things from getting in your eyes. But if I wasn't there to teach her that, that's something small, but then you grow up trying to figure it out on your own. Right. And that happens. It happens in the streets. It happens with kids with sex.
Figuring out things on
their own. And our kids nowadays really are smart enough with technology to say, hey, when I needed shoes, clothes, shelter, blah, 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 you didn't provide. But you were drinking, smoking, you got your hair done, your nails done, you're going out, you got a boyfriend, you got the kids, they really are. They're smart enough to judge.
Right.
And I think that that's like a big, big deal. If you are checking in live on Facebook, please jot us down anything. Say what's up, ask a question, chime in. I love, everybody's opinion. I always appreciate my followers. Always, always. Anything?
Nothing new yet.
Okay, that's cool. Because we're talking about mothers, I would just want to touch on another point that I think sometimes some things that mothers do. The mom that treats their son like the king of the house. That's like, it's funny because when I had my conversation with this young lady that wrote the letter, she has siblings.
Now, what age is she about?
17.
17, okay.
So she has siblings, and I think that and she has brothers. So I think that the whole mother thing hit really hard for her because she's a female, and moms tend to lend their daughters the things that they have, so the skills that they have, so the cooking, cleaning, compassion, and all of those type of things. But when it comes to what moms lend to their sons, it's pretty different. So she had mentioned too, outside of this situation, that her brothers, she didn't know if her brothers felt or missed mom as much as she missed mom. And I think that sometimes in households, moms don't realize what they give to their daughters and what they give to their sons, especially when you look at single mothers.
Right.
And I think sometimes moms treat their sons like kings of the house. You're the man of the house. And so in this particular case, the little girl is like really wrapped up in having to take care of them and be like, mom.
Be the mom.
She
feels, she sees her friend had that mom. So now I'm going to be that person.
So being that mom. And it's funny because I thought about it from a male point of view. If you grow up in a household and you have a woman doing the cooking, the cleaning, the catering, and you're not required or held accountable to do anything, it kind of raises a man that wants a woman that caters to them. And so it's funny. And a mama's boy.
Yeah, that's how they start, I think.
That's the making of a mama's boy. But not only that, it is also too a making of a man that, gravitates to a woman that's gonna, do stuff for them. And then they have a thought process of what men and women are.
The gender roles are very distinct for them because how they were raised, the man did nothing. No, there was something.
I mean, bare minimum. But just the language in the household, you wash the dishes and do this and that, and the girl has like 10 responsibilities, and the boy just has to take out the garbage. I mean, even in my house, my daughter said, "You don't make them do nothing," and I had to check myself, like, you know what, get up and you don't do that, you do that, and they're like, what? But it's in an effort to make sure that I'm not doing that. I don't want my son.
I was raised that way, very much gender roles.
Yeah.
The girl did this and the boy took out the garbage.
And it happens, and the girl is responsible for making sure their brother, especially if they're younger, he gets up for school and he eats and washes all the clothes and makes sure he doesn't do anything. Oh, thanks for my laundry, and he puts them up. And I think sometimes mothers they don't really pay attention that they're doing that. And I think that's because we kind of live from our experience. We teach from our
We
experiences.
teach from, fortunately and unfortunately, and that can be changed. I mean, we
Yeah.
can take ownership of what we see happening with our own families and say, where did that come from? I don't want that. Like you said, your daughter repeats it back to you, but you hear it. You don't just say, oh, shut up.
Yeah.
You internalize and say, okay, well, maybe that partly may have some truth to it. Get up and you do your share too.
Right.
I mean, and hopefully that's what people do, but I think that's not what's happening. Looking at how today's society is going, there are more moms filling out what we consider bad moms, the bad mom side, than they're doing the good mom side.
I think a lot of that is because it's easier to do. So it's easier for me to give what I have. So I know that, and I mention this because I was raised with a little brother to take care and care for him. So I feel like I've been a mom since I was about 10 years old, because I had a single mom and she worked, and so I did those things for my younger siblings. And so I worked from my experience. So with your experience, you can either do the same thing, or you can be like, no, I didn't like that, so I'm going to do something different. And so I work to do something different. But people, they do what they know.
Right.
And to get back to the topic of the show, where the real mom's at, I think that it comes down to being a real mom, but being a real woman and person first. I think it's devastating to anyone to find out that their mother is a real human being. This mom in this letter, real person. Grandma was a real person. The deceased mom in the letter, real, like they're real. So you think your mother is like this superhuman. My mom can fly. We think our mother is Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy.
And always supposed to get everything right.
Always. And not do anything wrong. My husband told me, oh, I never heard my mother curse until I got to be an adult. And when I heard it, I was like, and that it's like, well, your mother is a human being. But we really, really do. We put moms in this category where they're in this glass box that, no, moms are perfect. And when you find out that your mother is just a human being, it's devastating. A lot of kids I worked with in juvenile corrections, a lot of breakdown came when little things like, when their mom and dad got into a physical altercation, or one situation, mom called the police on dad. The child was really pissed. Like, she is disloyal. She betrayed him. No, mom was getting beat up, and she didn't want to get beat up. So she did what she had to do. She's not a superhuman. And so I think there's a lot of devastation that comes when you realize that your mother is a human being.
Or that you never realize that.
That you never realize that.
That she's human. Because I do think that sometimes that doesn't come until some experience or something makes you even go back and look at that. Yeah. I mean, it has to be, what about maybe the man that gets married and it keeps telling his wife, you need to do this, you should be cleaning, you should be doing this. And she's like, I'm not your mother. My mother did it. Or I even think when I was married and I said, oh, well, I like to stay on. My mother worked. You could work. And I was like, that doesn't mean that was right. And I talked to his mom. She was like, I didn't want that life. Or I was a single mother and had to. And I was like, she told me she felt that was interesting that he took that away from that experience.
Everything she did for him, that's what he took
right.
Away.
She felt like if I could have done anything differently, I would have. But that wasn't like necessarily a choice.
Right.
And so it's interesting what they take away from that, and what most males will expect you to do what their mother did, or in some shape or fashion.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes we do have kids that look at the maybe other moms, or they look, because my kids have done it to me. So-and-so's mom bought them this and that. Hey, well, I'm not your mother. I mean, they're not your mother. Right. So I think that they look at things like on TV or friends, or
definitely
situations
friends,
around
the peers.
them.
Yeah.
Because if you get in a situation where nobody has a mother, you kind of don't feel too bad when you don't have a mother. If everybody around you is being raised by their grandma, then it's not a big deal. But as soon as you get into a situation where you see something different from what you know, it can cause a little anger and frustration. And I think that this girl, the writer, her friend, she is a little frustrated and she's a little angry because the mother that she has pictured in her mind, her biological mother, just isn't it. And so she doesn't feel like she has to engage with her or treat her the way that mothers should be treated because in her mind she doesn't meet the expectations.
And I don't know if at this age she will without help. I mean, without help to, because I think there are certain moms with under the good mom status, the sacrificing mom who isn't a nurturer at the same time. She is working very hard to put food on the table, working 2 and 3 jobs, but are you going to get a hug and a kiss? And do I have time for that because I'm working 3 and 4 jobs? Sit your butt down and leave me alone. And so from both perspectives as a child, how do you repair, fix in this age? What would you say to the girl, both children, to as an answer to the Dear Cat?
Dear Cat. So I think in the Dear Cat letter, and just in case you just tuned in on the last end, Dear Cat letter talks about a young lady that has a friend that's disrespectful to her mother. The young lady has some feelings about it because her mother is deceased. And the young lady tells her, you had a great mom and my mom is not so great. And I think to the writer, I would say your mother is not comparable to anyone else's mother. And the way that you interact with your mom was your relationship with your mother. It's not the standard on how to be a mother or how to be a daughter or how to have a mother-daughter relationship. So you can't necessarily judge your friend on that, but bringing to her attention that you should not be disrespectful to the person that provides for you, that is important. And I commend you for letting her know that the disrespect is not necessary. Even if she treats her like a sister, even if she was her sister, it's not necessary. She should be respectful. And to the person that she's writing about, the young lady who is disrespectful to her mother, I think that she would be benefit from sitting down and actually telling her mom how she feels. Yeah. I feel like this towards you and about you. Not in a disrespectful way.
Not disrespectful.
But just, she could bring up, my friend says that I'm disrespectful to you. And I want to let you know that I talk to you this way because of XYZ. With the hopes that in the end, you won't be talking to her like that anymore. I don't know to what extent it is, but definitely a conversation because it gives mom room to grow because mom may not know that she's missing something from her. For all mom knows, we're interacting fine and I'm doing the best that I can do. Again, mothers are human beings too.
So true.
I want to thank everyone that tuned in to the Cat Talk Show on IntellectualRadio.com. I always appreciate you. I appreciate my Facebook followers and my IntellectualRadio.com followers. You can follow me also on YouTube on Cat Talk and on Instagram on Cat Talk and Dear Cat on Facebook. And you can tune in again next Sunday at 2 p.m. IntellectualRadio.com. See you later.